Hello, everybody. Today I'm going to talk about how I used Akashic Records for myself and how it completely changed my life. And also, basically why you should really get to know how to work with your own memories, right? Because this is what Akashic Records are. They are the memories in your DNA of every single thing that you went through in this lifetime and whatever your soul has been through in past lives and so forth. So the first time I got introduced to the Akashic Records is like back to 2005, 2006. I was having a lot of difficulties to focus as I was studying I was following a finance career. I was very ambitious. I wanted to work in investment banking, which I did. I started to work in investment banking at 18 years old. But before that, I had lots of struggle at school to focus, to remember things. I had a lot of brain fog. I was like 16, 17. And a lot of it came from a lack of self-worth. I was very overwhelmed, easily from all the things that I had to learn because I felt like I was always lacking some self-worth and self-esteem. And that really came from a pretty traumatic childhood with especially my father figure, but like overall just pretty weak family environment. And I had my mom who was already in the holistic world. She was a tarot reader. She still is, actually. She's a tarot reader. She's a numerologist. She loves everything holistic. And she knew that person who would access to the Akashic records, the memories of your soul, and will find out, why are you experiencing this blockage in your life? Why are you experiencing stagnation, toxic patterns, things that feels almost like a punition in your life? So she went into my energetic field, my Akashic records. She found out that story that was still really much living in me, and she reprogrammed that story. And I swear that the next day I started to just feel lighter in general. Like I feel like you see it, you feel it, but you're not sure it's actually going to be sustainable. But what came up, so I was like finishing high school, right, is that I was getting so much clarity on where I wanted to go and how I wanted to express myself. And at 17 years old, we had to send letters, cover letters to companies to hire us for, these studies that I wanted to do, where you work and you study at the same time, and the company is actually paying for your university to study. Just such a great way to just jump into the professional life. And I did this amazing cover letter, and I got hired by 3 companies right away, where my grades were not that good. I just think it was the way I was so clear on where I wanted to go. So I started to work in investment banking when I was 18. And I was really amazed with Akashic records, right? But I was like, okay, that worked great. I'm going to keep doing my life. So I kind of never really thought about working at the Akashic records at that time. I went on my path. I had my master's degree. Then I came to New York. And so I came to New York in 2012. I met the love of my life that fall, that year, and we got married. And after we got married, we wanted to have a baby. We wanted to become parents. And, this is when I had to face that my career was going great. So that's the first time I used the Akashic record. That was really for me to clear my vision and clear my expression to work. And then I went back to the Akashic records as I was experiencing infertility. I had this very strong PCOS condition, which means that you have cysts all over your ovaries, and you can ovulate. And, you know, a lot of PCOS condition, usually it's when you are overweight, or, you know, your diet, things are in your environment are not great. You took the pill for a long time, which was not my case at all. Like, I was a pretty healthy eater. I stopped the pills at least 2 years before that time. So but I had no cycle for 2 years. No, complete amenorrhea. And my OBGYN was like, well, you're gonna need treatment, right? Like, you're not ovulating. We need to help you ovulate. And something in me was like, no, this is hard. Like, there's no way I can ovulate. I was also like, you know, I was not even 30. I was approaching my 30s, but I was like, there's something else. Something else is going on. Obviously, I was exposed to holistic world from my mom, and, you know, the Akashic record that I did a few years before that. So I was like, I'm going to try this again. So I contacted the person that helped me the first time, and we worked on the fertility issue. That was a lot of trauma for me, right? Like, I've been abused sexually in my childhood. And there was also like different layers of memories of sexual abuse, or just losing a child, or, you know, being pregnant from a rape, things like that, that you can really remember, because it's so deep from the past. And, you know, we have this response in this reality where we kind of like don't remember our childhood, or we don't remember things because we just need to move on, right? So it's kind of like our subconscious is protecting us to have these flashbacks and these memories, so we can actually like just keep going and not being stuck in this low frequency of that trauma. But actually, when you go with the Akashic records, so what I did for fertility, I had to face all these memories. And I will tell you what happens when you get into a memory, even if you don't believe in past life, even if you're not really familiar with the energy work, when someone can really tap into your own soul, right? Like, you give them access, you're ready to go. And we have access to the memories of your soul, you feel it. You feel it in your being, something makes sense. We see details that are so familiar to you, the things that you never shared. It's incredible. And after 9 months of working on myself, so it's the Akashic Records reprogramming. We reprogrammed a lot of trauma in my belief system. I also did a few acupuncture sessions, like once every 2-3 months. And then I was also like doing a lot of spiritual work. This is when I really went off the financial track. I was like, I don't think I want to do this job anymore. I really want to focus on, you know, me, and just like going inward. Because when I was in the financial industry, I mean, literally, you have no time, right? Like, you work so much, there's so much stress, there's so much deadline. Also, I was working on the money market, and I was working as a consultant for stress tests, CCAR, things like that, when I think about it. And so I was feeling, right, that something was changing in me. My vision for the body, the emotional body, what we go through as women, especially, there's just like so much stories within us that we are here to break through these stories. And this is really what I realized after I went through that path. So anyway, after 9 months of deep work, I just did so much research. I started to like do my own incantation for myself, this own travel, like inward, like working on my chakras, really trying to like feel what was blocked in my body, in everything. And after 9 months, I started to like find little cycle here and there. Like, I would say like every 2-3 months I had a cycle. And that was already like magical for me, right? Because like I was starting to ovulate again after I worked with my Akashic records and I did the reprogramming. And then I got pregnant naturally. And my OBGYN seriously could not believe it. It was like, this is like why we should never say that hormonal conditions are forever. If you have a PCOS condition, if you have endometriosis, if you have any hormonal imbalance, just please, please, please get to know that you can absolutely change that yourself. This is not forever. You can absolutely get to know the root story of why this is happening in your body and release that and heal fully from it. So anyway, I got pregnant naturally. And that was a big awakening. I was like, okay, I need to help other women, because obviously, like, I struggled to get pregnant for 2 years, and that was so isolating. And I've seen like so many of my friends that were going through the same thing. You know, it's so painful when you can't have a baby and this is the only thing you really want. You know, you're meant for this, and your body is not responding to it. It feels painful. It's very painful. And I think a lot of women don't talk about this, you know, because it's just like, nobody can understand unless you're actually going through that, and like you can see that your body is not responding to that desire of creating a life within you. You just cannot get it. You have to go through it. So anyway, I had my first baby, and as I was pregnant, I quit my job in finance, and I was like, this is it. I'm going to help women, just like feeling better in their body, reveal what is the root story for them to like have all of these, hormonal imbalances, all these conditions. And I started to do a health coach certification with the school IIN. It was awesome. It's like after 6 months of training, I was able to already be a health coach. So I started to like, put myself out there, and I was like talking a lot to my friends, to doulas, to all of these women I was meeting after I was in postpartum. And I started to like attract only women that had issues to get pregnant. So that was very interesting, right? Like I was attracting the clients that went through what I went through. And then I was like, okay, I really want to try the Akashic records on them. Like, I feel I can do this, especially like I became so much more knowledgeable. Like I learned so much through my school. I learned so much through my own experience. I really like learned a lot of little things around the spiritual world and energy work in a very, very safe and healthy way. And I went back to France. This is actually where I come from. I come from France, Paris. And I went back to France and I met the woman who helped me. And I was like, I want to learn. So she was doing these seminars with a lot of people. And I went to these seminars and we started to like, she was like giving us a lot of little details on how to access Akashic records of others. And I remember having this other woman who was here to learn. And I was supposed to read her Akashic records for the first time. It was the first time I was doing it. I started we hold hands to kind of like, connect together. And immediately I had crazy visions. And I was like, whoa, I don't know. I don't know. Like, is this in my head? Like, and, it's very, I do think that when you get started and you humble and you understand, like, nothing should be taken for granted, it's good to question yourself, especially at the beginning. It's absolutely normal. I don't think we can be like 100% certain that what we see is like the truth. There's so much going on. We have so many filters from our own life, from our own experiences. So it's actually very intimidating at first to think that you are seeing someone else's past life memories. Seriously, like that was like, whoa. Okay, but at some point you got to trust in yourself. You got to take that leap of faith. So I was like, okay, this is my vision. I don't know if it talks to you. And the woman started to like really like feel it, and she was like, oh my gosh, like I actually had these little things like exactly that way already in this life. So like it was super interesting. And then I came back to New York, where I'm still am. And I started to work with this woman, and I was like starting to offer the Akashic records travel. I was telling them like, this is kind of like new for me. Let's see how it goes. And I would have this reprogramming coming down like as a download for them as soon as I was seeing these stories. I started to like trust myself more and more because it was so clear that I was just like following what I was seeing, what I was feeling. And these women, I mean, that first year, I think I helped in 6 months, I think I helped 15 women who got pregnant basically within 3 months of working with me. And this is when I was like, this is it. This is it. This is my path. I'm going to help. I'm going to work with the Akashic Record, where I'm going to work on women's health. This is really my calling. And I opened a center, holistic center, with my friend who was working in Ayurveda. And I started to have many different clients. Then it was always women, but it was about, toxic relationships, karmic relationships, things, people that you just can't have enough of them, but they're not good for you. Why am I so tied to this person? Or, like attracting the same kind of events or triggers or anxiety, all of these things that as a woman you feel so unsafe, and you just want to break through from this uncomfortable sensation where you're not feeling at ease, you're not feeling at home, you're not feeling seen, you're not feeling heard. So I really started to like see that my work was all about the feminine care and the womb condition. Everything heals so gracefully when we work on the soul level, and you just gain so much faith and just like this new vision of your life. So many opportunities open up to you. Like you start meeting more aligned person in your life, because you're just shedding away this karmic contract, these karmic traumas that have been holding your soul for so long. So this is how I like really shaped my practice with the Akashic Records. And then, I had my second baby, and I had no cyst anymore at all. I used to have hypothyroidism. I don't have that anymore. I'm off medication for more than 2 years now, which is a true miracle for me. And for my second baby, I experienced an orgasmic birth. And I did prepare for the orgasmic birth. I did had a prenatal yoga teacher who was like really making me working on the breath and the positioning and things like that. And I'm helping women to do that now, to have a pleasurable labor. And I would tell you that everything with the Akashic Records really shows you how you can work with your own power. The Akashic Records, again, are the memories within you. They define who you are from your soul, right? Like the Akashic Records tell you who's your soul, and why is your soul here right now, right? Like what are you going through right now is what you chose to get yourself free from. So it's a very, very powerful tool to remember so much about yourself. And when you tap into that essence of your soul, then you can really go deep inside your body and really go deep with your psychic powers and your intuitive essence as a woman. And this is how you can completely surrender. You can surrender to pleasure. You can surrender to sensuality. You can find ways to just enjoy your life with so much gratitude, because you know what you went through, right? Like you remember. And so you give all this message to your body vessel. You're like, oh yeah, no, I know. Now I know, and that's okay. Like I'm releasing that. I'm making peace with this, right? And this is also like, that's actually a big topic, to make peace with trauma. Like I feel like going into our traumas and processing them, integrating them, releasing them is basically shadow work. This is what I when we talk about shadow work, this is how I see it. Right, shadow work. I'm going in my shadows. I'm going to see what was wrong, what traumatized me, like what scares me the most. And I'm going to look at it in the eyes and just like integrate it, forgive it, release it. And that's just so, so, so powerful. And with my second baby in that orgasmic birth, I had even more passion around the woman's body, the woman's intuitive essence, the way we create life, the way we die. We completely die every month when we bleed, like all of this energy that we are shedding away. Like these are memories. This is blood, guys. Like in your blood, in your DNA, this is where you have all of your unique essence. And so as you bleed, like you have this opportunity to shade away the past. And if you went to do your shadow work, if you want to remember your Akashic records, and this trauma is no longer within you, within your soul, then with that physical vessel, you can even put your intention in your womb and ask that blood to just take it away. And it's just like, it feels magical. And there's a lot of different practice. Like, I feel like when we do energy work, afterward, we need to nurture ourselves a lot. And this is something I feel is really missing when we do shadow work, or we work with, these memories, these traumas, these toxic patterns, this toxic relationship. You have to still nurture that love for yourself afterwards, right? Because you just went through a lot. And think about postpartum. So this is really what came up with my second birth, as I was like, I was so blew away from the orgasm that I got, and like this, like recovering, because down there it looked like nothing happened. And that's just like such a beautiful way to give birth, when you're not in pain. There's nothing to worry about down there. You just need to recover and be with your baby. And that is like so much. It's just like such a different experience, right? Because I did have an epidural for my first, and it was beautiful. Like, I don't judge it at all, because it was really perfect for me. But I did have a little tear, and I saw the difference. I just saw the difference from, a very light epidural that did help me a lot. It was great. But then we have the pleasurable labor, and it's like, whoa, okay, that's a different level. And then this postpartum phase for my second baby was very interesting. I really did feel a lot of sadness. And I did not understand why. I was like, that's interesting. Like, this labor was even better. Like, I'm feeling great. Obviously, like, I was so happy to have another baby. But I had that sadness within me. And so I went deeper into what was going on. I didn't have any cyst anymore. I started to have very regular cycle. I always had pleasure with intercourse, but I feel like, self-pleasure was an issue for me. And it's like, oh, like, I feel like there's something that's, again, ready to leave me. This is a version of me that I'm grieving right now. And there was a version of me that was very career-driven, but in a way of, in a very masculine energy, where it was like very financially driven. It was very materialistic. It was like, I want this, so I'm gonna get this. Whereas after that birth, I felt like, this is who I am. And now I need to also learn how to just receive. And that was huge for me. It was so hard. Seriously, like, I feel like so many women, especially if we are very career driven and we are in the corporate world, we have a tendency to have difficulty to receive pleasure, to receive soft touch, and just taking our time. I remember just taking a shower. It was like, boring. Or like going to a hair salon. I don't have time for you to cut my hair. Like, please do in 20 minutes. I don't have 45 minutes for that, right? It's like, I don't appreciate taking care of me. And that completely shifted after that second birth. And this is when I used the Akashic records again to understand why self-pleasure was an issue, why, like, I'm in this like mindset where taking time for myself is difficult. And that was, again, like, mind-blowing. And what came up from this Akashic records reprogramming was my soul identity, was my self-identity. Who am I? Right? Like, I feel like when we give birth, what we don't realize, what we call postpartum depression, I feel is really about grieving that old version of ourselves, the one that was free before, the one that had no responsibility, right? Like before kids, you were like, I'm good, I'm doing my life. Like I don't have, I don't need to make dinner every night for little boo-boos. Like I'm good. And that really shifts when you become a mother. So I feel like that was when I used the Akashic records to remember who I was truly and how to really tap into receiving. And this is when I started to have downloads of all these self-love, self-care practices that was just perfect for my soul. And I found back, everything. And that's just like, I would tell you, like, allowing yourself to appreciating a long bath with flowers, a self massage with oil, putting yourself into that feminine essence of just receiving is so divine for you, for your soul, for your daily life. You just learn who you are, you learn what's good for you. And this is how now I help women to do. I just like really tap into the Akashic records to help them remember who they are and how they can receive that love, that abundance, that frequency of joy for life. So the reprogramming part, I think, is very important. This is something I don't see much. Like I have a lot of people coming to me saying, oh, I had an Akashic records reading, but not reprogramming. And it's like giving you a reading of a tarot reading, just giving you the name of the cards, right? Like I'm just going to tell you that you got the High Priestess, but I'm not going to tell you what it means and how you can use that. This is like, for me, this is not what's aligned with Akashic readings right now, because I'm not going to give you a trauma of yours without telling you how to integrate that, without telling you how to take care of yourself after that, right? And like we're going to do this with programming so we can change that story, we can change that mindset, we can burn that contract, we can cut the cords, we can actually really release that story from you. Releasing the old narrative is just not looking at it and be like, oh, okay, now I'm just going to process it. There's like a whole like dynamic where you can change that old belief system, right? Like tapping into your subconscious mind and bring it to your conscious mind to alchemize it. The power of alchemy here. And as a woman, this is what we do. See, every month as we have our menstrual cycle, we ovulate, we bleed, we have so many different hormonal moods in our body. We have this intuitive essence. We create life and we give it back. It's just like so much power within us as a woman, but we are so attached to that external world because this is how we were educated, right? Like we can see in all these shows, witches, withers, all these people, they weird. Like every time you see someone in a retreat in a show, it's usually pretty like extreme what they're doing. Like I feel like the society or whatever that is, there's just like we just grow in an environment where spirituality seems scary. And actually from like really going back to that myself and really working with my own downloads and my commitment to sit down and call into gratitude, journal a lot, reflect a lot on what I went through, expanded my life so crazy. I literally like have a life I've never ever dreamed of. I have the house of my dreams. I have the love of my dream. I play music again. I just, I have my 2 children. I had this orgasmic birth experience. I have many beautiful clients, like all these beautiful women working on themselves. The Akashic records just like really open up your field of opportunities and also allow you to really deep healing that is completely sustainable. You're going to heal yourself and it's never going to come back to you. You're always going to just like keep expanding and keep enjoying your life more and more. So this is, I guess if I had to conclude, I did use the Akashic record for 3 reasons, 3 big steps in my life. The first time was for my career, my self-worth, my self-esteem. I had no self-esteem, and I really claimed that back with the Akashic records reprogramming. The second time was all around the fertility, right? Like I had this PCOS condition, and I went over it. I completely healed my hormonal imbalance from hypothyroidism and PCOS. And the third time was my self-identity as a mother, as a woman in this day and age, and working with spirituality instead of being in the corporate world where, like, you know, like I feel like we feel worthy of receiving money if we are in the corporate world, where like if we're in the spiritual world, there's something that tells us like, like it's a service to others. Different. Not at all. This is exactly what we're supposed to do, to like tap inward and get to know who we are. So that self-identity thing, self-esteem, fertility, womb health, and finding your gift, finding your purpose, connecting to your soul. This is what the Akashic Records reprogramming will do to you. This is how I crafted my practice, and I can't wait to meet more of you guys. I'm sending you so much love. I hope this video was helpful and you get to know the Akashic Records and especially get to know your soul. Sending love.